All right, Italian Horror Month here in Horror's Bar.
Yes, a very special month.
We're having a Italian-themed party here to kick the month off. Hosted by you, so thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Abode. So we're having a several Italian horror films, of course. We also just ate a fantastic dinner prepared by yourself.
Thank you very much.
Tell them what we had.
I take pride in my meatballs, my spaghetti meatballs.
Very big balls.
I make giant balls.
They were delicious. Though. We had I had to bring salad because
salad,
Italian dressing, garlic bread. So we just partook in a great Italian meal, and we're going to continue on with some films, and we'll let you guys know what we're watching tonight in a little bit. But thanks for watching Italian Horror Month. Chars. We'll see you soon.
Cheers.
Welcome everyone to Italian Horror Month here on Horror's Ball. I'm your host, The Headbanger. Very excited about this. This is dedicated to all of you out there. I know there's many of you that feel this way, much like me, who are just live and breathe Italian horror, obsessed with it, maybe even jerk off to it on your that's each of our own business. But we just love Italian horror. Can't get enough of it. I did an Italian month way back in season 1. But this is going to be hopefully bigger and better, a lot more episodes than we had back then. So I'm going to start today. Let's get right to it with, as you see in the title, modern Italian horror. There are 3 travesties in the horror genre, to me anyway, that have always bothered me, particularly in modern times. One being remakes. You guys know I generally dislike remakes. There's been a few here and there that have been good, but in general I hate remakes. CGI in general, I hate CGI. I always prefer practical effects. And the third travesty I think of modern horror, that is alien modern horror, is basically the virtual fall of Italian horror that was so prevalent, of course, that really dominated the genre way back in the 60s, 70s, and some of the 80s. I mean, the first question is, what happened? Why did it fall? Of course, naturally, you're going to have some directors who, of course, pass away, unfortunately, a la Lucio Fulci. But even some of the great directors that still went on for a bit, even just their quality of film started to decline. Definitely, in my opinion, Dario Argento, other directors, went on to other genres and never really went back to the horror genre, like Sergio Martino. Michele Soavi, well documented that he was 4 for 4. Soavi, well documented that he was 4 for 4, in my opinion. 4 great horror films. Had a problem with his son. His son got sick, left the genre because of that. Did some TV work. I believe he did a drama or 2, but never went back to the horror genre, unfortunately. So there's a lot of different reasons for it. But as far as like modern filmmakers, why did these great filmmakers of the past not inspire or create, a modern generation of Italian filmmakers? The research that I've done on it, and a lot of interviews I've read with people, just say the culture in Italy changed dramatically since maybe the mid-90s to late 90s. And for a young Italian director right now who lives in Italy, who wants to make horror films, doesn't get much support at all. There's not a good supportive indie scene that we see horror filmmakers that are fortunate to have here, in North America. They don't get a lot of backing financially. They don't get a lot of support from the arts there and the government and all that stuff. So it just makes it incredibly difficult to make Italian horror films anymore in Italy, and that's probably one of the biggest reasons why. But I want to mention some people that I think are at least doing their part in trying to bring back Italian horror, both Italian filmmakers and filmmakers from other parts of the world. And hopefully maybe there'll be some films here that you're unaware of. But, I mean, let's say this first, it's never going to get back to the way it was, no matter who comes out and begins begins a resurgence. It's of course never going to get back to the glory days of Italian horror where they once ruled the genre. I don't expect that to ever happen. It's a shame, and fortunately we have other areas of the world that have picked up the slack. You know, the rise of Japanese and Asian horror over the last couple of decades. Of course, we had that new wave French horror, which kind of settled down a bit, but they're still putting out good films. In my opinion, I think the Spanish horror film, you know, is consistently fantastic over the last 10, 15, 20 years, putting out a ton of great horror films. So I mean, we have different parts of the world still cranking up great stuff. But yeah, there'll always be a void for us that love Italian horror. Let's get to this. Let's talk first about some Italian horror films. There's not been many, but over the last, I don't know, 5-10 years that I think are at least noteworthy and worth mentioning. Put up a rare video. This was directed by Gabriele Albanese. Ubaldo Terzani Horror Show. Not the greatest film in the world, and I'm not going to say that any of these match the quality of those great classics back in the heyday, but it's worth picking up. I think it's a cool story. Basically, a guy has trouble with he's a writer, he's having some trouble writing, has some problems with his girlfriend. This director he meets ends up trying to help his career. Things, of course, go horribly wrong, and kind of definitely a bleak ending, which is cool. Not the best dialogue, but definitely worth picking up. House of Flesh Mannequins. This was directed by, find it here. I'm not going to be able to find it. Damiano Cristofaro. I think this is a really cool film. Very sleazy and dark. Probably the best thing about this, it has Giovanni Lombardo Radice. Of course, in my mind, many of your minds, a legend in Italian horror. It's really cool seeing him in a pretty large role in the film. Just a fucked up film. Fetishes, you call it fetish horror maybe if you want to. Underbelly of, you know, erotic and fetishism, and is that even a word? But some cool practical gore, lots of nudity, both male and female. But I think it's a cool film. Not for everybody, but definitely has a sleazy Italian vibe to it. This film, Eyes of Crystal, this is a modern giallo, which I unfortunately was unable to watch. I ordered this and it was wrong. Falsely advertised that it had English subtitles. It did not, so I was unable to watch this. I know Luke, Honestly Moo, is a big fan of this film, and I'm going to have to get the other version of it. Luckily I got a refund for it. This film, The Butterfly Room, directed, I believe he is in Italian. I'm not going to try to say his name. But this was filmed in, I want to say LA. But the cool thing about this one, it was the return of Barbara Steele. Had a couple other cool cameos, James Karen, Camille Keaton, Adrian King. The film itself, honestly guys, is not very good. Ray Wise is in there as well. But it's worth, if you're like me, you love Barbara Steele, it's a must-have. Seeing her, I think this was shot a few years ago. But she steals the show. She is the film. Take her out of the equation, it's not a very good film. But if you love Barbara Steele, it's a must-have. Now, talk about how other areas of the world have tried to bring the Italian feel back. Now, I mean, there's two types of modern Italian horror now. You have people, who I'm about to get to, a few filmmakers who are Italians who are trying to make modern horror films with definitely an Italian influence. And then you have the other side where it's straight up homages, throwbacks, if you will, to Italian horror of the 70s and 80s, which may turn a lot of people off. Some people just call them rip-offs. That may be the case, but there are some that I've definitely enjoyed. We've seen the resurgence lately of 70s throwback films, 80s throwback films in horror. Some are good, some are not so good. But these films I think are cool. Much talked about. I believe these directors are French. Almer from a few years ago. Absolutely stunning visually. Definitely been accused of more style than substance. That may be true, but enjoyed it very much. The only thing, I mean, honestly, there's kind of like 3 vignettes to the whole film. The middle one was the only one that bothered me with this girl here. To me, it definitely was too over the top and pretentious visually, but the first and third acts, if you want to call them that, to me are absolutely fantastic. Amazing cinematography, scores, all that stuff. Great artwork. They put out a film, those filmmakers, this year called The Strange Color, oh man, I'm going to forget it. Strange Color of Your Body's Tears, I want to say. So obviously a clear homage to old school giallo titles. I actually don't have the film on me. Finchie is borrowing it. But I think it's one of the year's best. I'll say it's an improvement over Armor. Still very high in visual, but it's got some great replay value, and if you watch it again, you'll actually do pick up on stuff. But I think it's a fantastic film, so check that out. I posted pictures of that lately. This is a new Giallo short film that I was really excited about. Awesome artwork done by Graham Humphreys, who's done lots of great artwork for Arrow and some other things. Actually, I haven't watched it yet, still sealed. Can't wait to watch this. It's, I believe, a British filmmaker, I'm pretty sure, did this. Definitely an homage to 70s Giallo. Now, I want to say these directors are French, I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, so someone will. Last Caress in Black Aria. They also call it like glam gore. I think these are fantastic. I know a lot of people put these down. They definitely are, if you want to call them rip-offs. I look at them as homages. Clearly dedicated to the 70s and 80s. Giallo is gory. Here's the thing, if you're going to rip something off, if you're going to pay homage or do a throwback, do it well, and I think that's awesome. They do it very well. I mean, hot chicks, really cool scores. They're low budget, but done really well, shot well. And the gore is absolutely fantastic. Practical effects. Highly recommend this edition. You get the soundtrack with it, double disc. I do think these are sold individually, but highly recommend this edition. Barbarian Sound Studio by Peter Strickland. Pretty sure he's a British filmmaker as well. Really cool film. Definitely an homage to particularly 70s Italian scores. And it's kind of what the film's about. A guy who does sound effects for horror films. Trippy film. Really cool. Not for everybody, but when you're craved for Italian horror like me, and it was gone for so long, for several years, and then even what was coming out, like the later Argento films that just were not good. You need to fill that void somehow, so I support all these filmmakers from other parts of the world, you know, trying to at least pay homage to the heyday, and other filmmakers who are at least trying to, you know, while they're in Italy, try to bring films back from Italian, at least try to create an Italian scene once again. Alright guys, now here are modern Italian horror filmmakers cranking out films as we speak, trying to bring back the Italian horror genre. Here are a couple editions, pretty deluxe editions that have come out in the last couple of years. I'll start with this one. Two right here, but this one I like the least. But this is directed by Luigi Pastore. Symphony in Blood Red, a really nice, awesome media book. I'll say this about the next one. I think when you have a film, a brand new film, and it comes out strictly with a big deluxe edition like this, and there's no other alternative, no other regular, cheaper alternative release, I think that puts a lot of fair or unfair pressure on the film, because if you're you know, customer or a buyer, like consumer like us, we go and pay that extra money for it, which from a edition standpoint is well worth it. You get the soundtrack, you get, you know, nice pictures, a booklet, all that. So for the collectors like myself and some of you, it's great, but there should be a cheaper regular edition out there, because it's just automatically going to subconsciously put pressure on the film that, did I get my money's worth? This is a Giallo film by him. It's a cool film. He's clearly a big-time Italian horror fan, of course, probably grew up with it. My biggest problem with this film is there's some big heavyweight talent involved with him. He got Claudio Simonetti to work on the score for him. He got the great Sergio Stivoletti to work on the effects. I mean, he's got Dario Argento making a quote about it on the front. There are also other, I mean, Lamberto Bava, Luigi Cozzi. I mean, there are quotes all over the place for this film, which, much like the deluxe edition, I think puts unfair pressure. I mean, you got heavyweight, some of the all-time greats commenting on this film right off the bat, and it's bound not to live up to all this, and that's unfortunate, but that's the case. And I almost get the impression that, you know, this guy obviously has connections in some way, whether it be parents were friends with some of these filmmakers, grew up in the scene. I don't know the exact story, but honestly, when you have that much support, however the hell he got it, people helping him with this film, this is going to be blunt and maybe unfair or whatever, or cruel, but it's not because of the talent that he has. I mean, if you strip all that away, the cool effects, Simonetti's score, there really isn't much there. It's not like, I would say, I mean, there's certain, the way it's shot, you clearly say he's trying to make a giallo, but I wasn't impressed besides all that overall as a film. Worth getting, yeah, cool addition, a pretty cool film. I'm happy to support him. I hope that he definitely improves. Hopefully, if he continues to make films. But I don't know. I just wasn't too impressed overall with the film, and I think with all the talent he had around him, it should have been much better. Which leads me to believe that I don't know. There's some type of connections involved with this. But I can put it this way: I think some of these other films that I'm about to say much more deserve that support talent-wise and deserve some of these quotes. I think are more deserving than some of these other films. Nonetheless, I recommend it, particularly if hopefully another edition, cheaper edition, comes out down the road for it. Now here's I think a better version, but it unfortunately, much like the last release, may suffer from a deluxe edition. It's Tulpa, which is an awesome 2014 Giallo style film, directed by real bad with all these directors here. Federico Zampaglione, probably saying that wrong. Awesome edition, digipack style. You get the soundtrack, DVD, Blu-ray. Awesome edition, great artwork underneath as well. Some of the alternate artwork. Again, unfortunately, to my knowledge, this is the only release. There may be like a Region 3 Blu-ray or something, but hopefully a regular, just bare bones DVD comes out. Make it much more affordable. I got a good deal on this, but I mean, it's just pressure on a film. You spend 30, 40 bucks on an edition. I think you're already going into it kind of like, am I going to get my money's worth? But this one I think is a much better film than Symphony of Blood Red. Really cool gore. Basically a chick who, she has a really good, really hot chick I should say. Has a really good job, businesswoman, but she has a side to her where she goes to kind of like these sex clubs and things of course escalate. Someone is murdered in the sex club and she kind of becomes a target. She witnesses the murder. Cool thing about this is some really cool, creepy, well shot scenes. There's one in particular I remember that involved a carousel, which is really badass. She's hot. So, I know some people complain about the dialogue and writing on this film. I mean, have you not seen some other Italian horror films? I mean, that didn't bother me at all. I think this is well done. Really cool score. Like the ending. Some boobies. Good gore effects. Highly recommended, Tulpa. And it's a freaking brand new Italian horror film, which is just awesome. Another one, brand new, and this is a director I've been a fan of since the first. I actually need his first film. It's actually very difficult to find. But I have his second film. Its director is Lorenzo Bianchini. His second film, Custodes Bestai. Really cool film. Very low budget, and you can tell he's getting his feet wet as a filmmaker. But very cool visuals. It's basically a giallo, but I highly recommend it if you can find this one out. A lot of definitely substance, visually strong. Definitely has its weaknesses, but you can see the promise for sure. And I definitely want to get his first film. I forget the name of it, but what a jump! So I was really excited when I heard that his third film, next film, came out this summer. Very eager to get it. Horrible artwork, clearly done by someone who makes many other shitty horror movie colors that are just really lame. But anyway, Across the River. We just watched Across the River by Lorenzo Bianchini. I've talked about this movie already this year. It's one of my favorites. It'll definitely be up for quite a few Golden Horn Awards, I'll say right now. Your first viewing of it?
Yeah.
What do you think?
And I'll definitely agree with you. It's definitely at the top of the list, I think, of the year, of one of the best ones I've seen all year, I think.
Despite this horrible cover artwork.
Yeah. I've seen worse.
It's at least relevant, but it's just not very good.
Yeah, it's relevant with all the woods and such.
But I swear I saw another movie this year use these two characters here. But anyway, if I were to have a quote, if someone were to use my quote on this, it would be, I wish I'd come up with something more poignant, but it would be atmospheric as fuck. Am I right? I mean...
Yeah, that would nail it. Yeah, this movie is completely all about the atmosphere. Like there's not a lot of dialogue going on, a lot of it.
It's basically about a guy, he's a animal wildlife researcher photographer. So he sets out on a case that I guess he does, it says, reference that he does it every year. Kind of like a census case on wildlife. And he ends up he goes to the woods to do it, and there ends up being a bad storm, and there's a big flood, so he basically gets stuck there, stranded there. And he ends up finding this kind of like abandoned, they call it a village, but he's basically only in a couple different buildings throughout the film.
Yeah, it's a couple small, like, ruins.
Yeah, they call it like a village, but technically it's only a couple buildings, and that's really your setup. And you begin to see that this village is haunted, and that's your setup. Very basic setup, but creepy
But
as hell.
the way they do it, that is all you need. Is just those couple small ruins.
Went a long way. You know,
yeah, he took it a long way. And all the mountains and everything around
the
it.
cinematography is fantastic. This is
Yeah.
a film with subtleties, right from the score
Yeah.
to the cinematography. I mean, the sound effects, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a quiet movie, I guess you would say. Where
it's great for a surround sound system. You know, like I mean, I could just picture right now some asshole when I nominate this for Best Picture. That film was boring or nothing. You know, like I can just picture right now. If you're not into atmosphere and you're a dumb fuck, sorry, but this is my show. Whatever. You know what I mean? Like I can just hear it right now. If you're not into atmosphere, you don't appreciate that. Don't bother watching this film.
If you are into atmosphere,
then it's a dream.
You will love it.
You will love it. It's the pacing is just methodical. You know, just like absolutely fantastic. It's almost like
the creep factor.
Every scene is just like strategically shot. You know, like the angles, the colors. We talked about how
like you said,
like Little Headbanger said it was like an Instagram shot. Like the daytime scenes were sepia.
I'm right here, by the way.
Yeah, that's she's filming. The nighttime scenes are very blue and gray. You know, so like it just looks fantastic. I think what makes this exciting and the reason why we're doing this in the first place, can we officially say Italian horror's back? You know what I mean? Like I started this month with saying how there are current Italian filmmakers, you know, but can this film officially be the first one where you say that it's been back? Yeah, would you say that it's up to that level?
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic, and yeah, seek it out. I'm sure you'll hear more about it from us in the future, but it's great to have Italian horror back on the mat officially, and the fact that this will be up for awards is symbolic, right? I mean, it's a big deal to us.
I guess
Italian horror is represented again.
For the can we call out the black metal fans, I guess.
Oh yeah, bring that up, man. Some of the angles and
shots.
Yeah,
if you're a fan of black metal, this movie is definitely recommended as the atmosphere we're talking about.
What's that with Wizard of Oz? And you press mute and you play Pink Floyd The Wall over it, right? Yeah. This could be that, and you play
like Burzum over
Burzum or Nort. I said, like some type of chasmic black metal band. Crom, you know what I mean? Like you could press mute on the film. And
like I said, the main guy's kind of Gaul-esque. Kind of looks like Gaul a little bit. Yeah.
So I mean, this could be the Wall / Wizard of Oz of horror black metal films.
Italian horror black metal is what I would describe this movie as.
So let's say it, man. Italian horror is back, and that it's going to be possibly be up for some major awards, the Golden Horror Awards.
Definitely.
So happy Italian month, man. Let's keep it going. Showers, everybody. Check this film out. Shot, lots of grays and darks. It's a rainy, dark film. The location is absolutely fantastic. Really, the final act, tons of creepy moments, particularly involving two girls. Great scenes. I love this film, and it's definitely going to be up for some Golden Horn Awards come January. Highly recommended. Lorenzo Bianchini. Seek out his films. I really think he can spearhead. Like I'll say it 100 times. Never going to get back to where it was, but I think he's a big front runner to at least continue on some type of Italian horror scene. Can't wait for his future work. And here's a guy I wanted to mention. Can't mention without at least mentioning him. He's not an Italian-born actor, but Dante Tomaselli, who I know a lot of you out there are fans of. Indie filmmaker, is actually born in New Jersey, but definitely has some Italian roots and definitely is influenced by Italian horror films, and I would recommend any of his work. Here's a guy who kind of doesn't get, in my opinion, enough credit, if any. That's Alex Zaccan. I'm a big fan of his work. Italian filmmaker. I believe some of his films were shot in America, and I know some have been shot in Italy. But I have all, I think, but one of his films. Highly recommend them. There's one, Color of the Dark. Cool thing is he has some Italian actors, but he also has some cool independent actors that we know and love, particularly this one, Debbie Rochon, who I think a lot of us love. Really cool film. This was shot in Italy. Awesome locations. A lot of his films are shot in rural locations, like old farmhouses, castles, churches, underground ruins. Very low budget films, but he's definitely an example of a guy who gets a lot out of very little. just really cool, more so atmospheric stuff. Some gore here and there, but it's definitely more atmospheric, more visual, cinematography driven. A little bit of CGI here and there, but mostly practical effects, and there's some really good ones. Love that film. The Shunned House has basically a haunted house pretty much, but there's a great scene where a girl plays violin, and the bow she's using to like cut her wrist, and she's actually playing the veins with the bow, and it's all practical effects and looks awesome. That's just a particular scene that I remember clearly. I don't want to get too much into plots here. Unknown Beyond, his first film, a lot of problems with the film technically, but I mean you could see the promise there. One of his, I believe this was his first or second film. Definitely some Argento influences, Fulci influences. Nympha, starring Tiffany Shepis, basically plays she wants to become a nun. She's in a convent. Things get really fucked up. She has a lot of nightmares, and things aren't as they seem. And you get to see her boobies a lot, which is, of course, awesome. Highly recommended. Bad Brains, kind of more of a contemporary, almost like snuff film type vibe, which is actually very different for him. But really cool film, awesome gore. And his new one from this year, Wrath of Crows. Really excited about this one. Has Deborah Shawn, has Tiffany Shepis. Shepis uber hot in this. She basically plays like a black angel. She has big black wings, and it takes place in a prison. You kind of learn about why all these criminals are in this prison. Not his best film, but very cool visually. Looks very cool, and an awesome cast. But please go support. If you're starving for modern Italian horror, I mean, look at this catalog, and there's another film I don't have. I think Alex Saccone deserves a lot more credit and a lot more attention, as does Lorenzo Bianchini and some of these other filmmakers. Again, it's never going to be brought back to where it was. I mean, we're talking about some of the greatest decades in horror history, some of the greatest films in horror history. But all I ask for is, at least for Italian horror to be represented in the modern pantheon of horror. So hopefully there's some films here that you guys were unaware about before, and some filmmakers. That's it, man. Modern Italian horror, it's definitely, I think, making at least somewhat of a comeback, which is very exciting news for us Italian horror lovers. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you very soon with the next episode here on Horseball Italian Horror Month. Stay scared. We'll see you guys. I'm out.